Thank you.
It's kind of punch your...
We're live. We got just a few more seconds before 10 o'clock. Is it frozen or what? It's 10 o'clock.
Mary, can you hear us?
Yeah, it is frozen.
I see Mary now. Mary, can you hear us?
Mary, are you there?
She's
Mary.
She's on mute.
Test, test. Mary, can you hear us? Is she there?
Are we live because it's still frozen? We're not live. Can you hit the go button, the play button on the Zoom and see if that loosens us up? It's like it's froze.
It was on pause or something.
Yeah, if it like pause or whatever.
First time. Let's try it again.
See that, the play button? Hit the play button, see what happens. Okay, it says, now you're live, isn't it? No.
What does this constant? Is it frozen? Let's see.
Can you make it bigger so we can see it?
Yeah. It's just frozen.
And hit the play button again and see if it does anything.
I'm just going to end it and restart the Zoom. It's the Zoom that's stuck. For whatever reason. Sorry for the technical difficulties here.
Yeah, we solved it and got our money and,
See them digging away over there.
yeah. Oh, it's 10 around and
Yeah,
flood
can you
it.
text, Yvonne, because she kind of knows how to
Cash.
this. It should be good.
You sold a property in Albuquerque
Wow.
and had a 1031 exchange he needed to do.
What's he gonna put in
So
there?
now,
Restaurant?
He's just trying to make more parking or what?
Nope, he's gonna do a bit,
Mary, can you hear us?
indoor,
Testing.
restaurant. And with a patio on top.
Allie?
It is morning.
Let me go tell
You're gonna get
See you.
It's just frozen.
What's up?
Calgon, take me away. Remember that old commercial?
Oh, yeah.
You guys need water or anything?
No, just internet.
Gonna bring you snacks.
We're good. Or I'm good, I should say.
Good.
What's going on?
It's not working, it's froze. It's frozen and we can't get up. and you can see everything?
Button over here.
So you can see it and hear everything? He said that we're live and they can see and hear us.
Could you hear them before?
No.
It's only connected to here, though. Do you need to restart that? Restart this, yeah.
Under that mute, but with that little caret next to the mute button, there's an audio setting.
What?
The caret next to the speaker where it says mute button, yeah, there's a little caret, there's a audio setting. And that,
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Now we can hear you.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, so we got,
That froze.
okay, so I guess we're live and everything's okay now. I apologize for the delay. Welcome to the Village of Ruidoso, the City of Ruidoso Downs, Ruidoso Wastewater Treatment Plant Joint Use Board. It's May 18th and it is about 6 after 10. We'll call this meeting to order. Can I have a roll call, please? Bertha,
Yes, sir. Chair Crawford,
here.
Mayor Pro Tem Walker,
Here.
Counselor Jackson,
Here.
Counselor Salas,
Here.
Joey Jarvis,
Here.
all present.
Okay, can I get a motion for approval of today's agenda, please?
I'll make that motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion about it? None? Roll call, please, Bertha.
Sir. Mayor Pro Tem Walker,
Here.
Joey Jarvis,
Aye.
Chair Crawford,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Jackson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have non-regular items today. We'll start with item number 1 is discussion and possible action on approval of the minutes, February 16, 2022.
Mayor, I have an amendment to make on page 4, I believe, where you had not contacted Eddie Martinez. I'd like to insert President Eddie Martinez.
Okay, where's that at again?
That was on the 4th page, about a third of the way down. I think one more,
Oh, that's page 5.
right there. But with that amendment, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Chair Crawford,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Walker,
Aye.
Joey Jarvis.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, and I have spoken to the president since then, but not about that issue. Item number 2, discussion and possible action on ratification of change order number 3 with SAK Construction Inc., requesting an additional 80 calendar days for substantial completion date of April 27th, 2022, and final completion date of May 27th, 2022, due to acquisition of easements on Fern Trail and weather conditions. Yes, sir, Mr. Adam.
Chair Crawford, members of the board, this change order is for SAK for extra days due to the acquisition of easements on Fern Trail from Npds to get their work done, and also some days for the fire. We had him pull off, and he did lose some of his equipment.
Okay. And so some of this was on material and then about a week for the fire?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, and we're still looking at a completion date of May 27th?
Yes, sir.
Anybody have any questions?
No?
Okay, entertain a motion. Go
I
ahead.
have one question. So is this to cover extra labor, or what is it?
This is just the
Tom.
days that they had to pull off, or they couldn't get started because of the acquisition of easements, and then the days that they had to pull off for the fire.
Okay.
You know, there's no increase in price, just,
On that one, there's no increase.
yeah, just time right now. Okay? Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve ratification of change order number 3 with SAP Construction, Inc., requesting an additional 80 calendar days for substantial completion date of April 27, 22, and a final completion date of May 27, 2022, due to acquisition of easements on Fern Trail and weather conditions.
Second.
Final discussion? Roll call, please, Bertha.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Joey Jarvis?
Aye.
Chair Crawford?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Walker?
Aye.
Thank you. Discussion and possible action on first renewal agreement with Molson Corbin and Associates for professional engineering services supporting the sanitary sewer system repair rehabilitation project. Yes, ma'am. Karen,
Good morning, Chairman. And
you're on.
Okay. Yes, this is for the first renewal for Molson Corbin to complete the sanitary sewer project, the 1783 PW 155, and that's what we're calling the sanitary sewer. This is completing the restoration phase, which is phase 1, the lift station phase, which is phase 2, and now the starting of the phase 3, which is the hazard mitigation. So this renewal will take them to cover their services through that.
Okay. Any questions? Comments? Motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve the first renewal agreement with Molson Corbin and Associates for professional engineering services supporting the sanitary sewer system repair rehabilitation project.
Second.
Final discussion? Roll call, please, Bertha.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Chair Crawford?
Aye.
Joey Jarvis?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Walker?
Aye.
Thank you.
Item number 4 is discussion and possible action on task order RFP number 2022-006P-MCA-04 with Molson Corbin and Associates, Inc. to prepare a technical memorandum to develop a plan to upgrade the entrance works fine screens at the regional wastewater treatment plant. And Isaac, are you doing this one? Or is that you, Mr. Boyda? Isaac? Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem Councilors, good morning. So this is for the technical memorandum to develop a plan to upgrade the entrance works fine screens. And this is just to see if the new ones that I have in mind are gonna even work in that particular channel without too much construction or just changes to the whole process. It's just to see if they're gonna work out, or if it would be better just to rehabilitate the ones that I have right now that are standing in place and already constructed and in operation.
Okay.
Any questions?
And we're still looking at, is it a $40-something thousand fee for that?
Yes, sir.
42, that's on the next one? No. Where's it? Oh, 42,384, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir?
Isaac, that is a budgeted item, wasn't it? Wasn't there a budget last year
Yes,
to
it-
replace
yes,
these?
it is,
So
sir.
it's just coming out of that fund?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir?
Isaac, on that, what does it cost to refurbish the ones that you have?
We don't have any.
They're outdated right now, and see, it's gonna take some special ordering. That's why I was looking about possibly just putting in brand new, because they're so out, they're over 10 years old now.
Is this a new product?
I thought it was a new product that was going at the headworks
Yes, it is,
to
but
do it screening out, and then it was going to the filter cartridges.
yes, it is. And the ones that I have in place to rehabilitate them, they're so outdated. They would. That's where the cost would be. That's where the memorandum's gonna see whether or not it's better just to rehabilitate the ones I have, or just replace them with the new ones.
So this whole price is for both? To rehabilitate possibly? and-
No.
No, this
No.
is just
Just for the
engineering.
fine
Yeah,
screen.
this is just a memorandum, so they can do the study on it.
Okay.
And Jerry Paz is here with Molson Corbin. You want to add to this, Jerry?
Yes.
Or Gerald?
Mayor and council, appreciate the opportunity to speak before you. As Isaac mentioned, I think there's 3 options. There's refurbish the old ones and see if that would be a cost-effective alternate, and they work perfectly where they're at, they're just not performing up to standard, they're old and need replacement. The second option is look to see if the manufacturer that made the old ones would have a new upgraded model, and look to see how that, the shape of it, the structure of it, will it fit in the same spot, and will it do the same thing? It's just a new model.
Right.
And then the third option is, I think the model that is preference for the plant operators. The way it discharges is opposite of the way the current one discharges, so we would have to do some sort of conveyor system to get it done right. And is there room for that conveyor system, and what's the cost of all that extra work to get the better model that we're looking at? So we're gonna look at all three and present all three and make a good decision based on that information.
So this just gives you something to work with on trying to phase it out or change it or clean it or whatever.
Yeah, we've got to get the dimensions of all three options. Of course, option one is it all fits because it's there. It's just a matter of how much will it cost to upgrade it to where it's can last you another 15 years. Option two would be the new model, and is it the same exact size, or is it a little bigger? Does it fit in the same spot? And option three, I think Isaac's already vetted that it does fit, but just the way it's configured is kind of right-hand, left-handed, so there would have to be extra work to make it work. So we'll present all three options. Of course, option three is the desirable because it's a better piece of equipment, but we just want to make sure that it's cost-effective to the JUB.
Okay, thank you.
And I would ask that, we should, when we have a change order, have the amount figured in on it, on the possible action task order with the amount. So, and it's exclusive of GRT, and we always like the GRT included in the number. So if you get us that number, and so it would be at the Downs rate, GRT rate, instead of Albuquerque as this destination, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, I couldn't remember on engineering, I can't remember, and then where the actual work's performed, I don't know. This is engineering portion, so.
Yeah, so the work is performed in Albuquerque.
Right, so it'd be Albuquerque's
Correct.
rate, right? And then when we approve the amount, so we just want to know what that amount is, because we know how you Albuquerqueans are. Y'all are going to give it away to somebody. They should have an office there, that's true.
In the village.
Okay, so if we can reword that to include the 42,384, do we know what the Albuquerque's rate is?
I can include it in the motion.
Okay, if you'll include it in the motion to be on there. Okay, does anybody else have any questions? Okay. Can I get a motion, please?
Mr. Mayor, I move the approval and action on task order RFP 2022-006P MCA04 with Molson Corbin and Associates Inc. to prepare a technical memorandum to develop a plan to upgrade the entrance works fine screens at the regional wastewater treatment. And that amount is to be $42,384 plus gross receipts tax as defined in the Albuquerque metro area.
Second?
Final discussion? Okay, roll call, please. Bertha?
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Joey Jarvis,
Aye.
Chair Crawford,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Walker.
Aye.
Thanks, Isaac. Item number 5, discussion and possible action on New Mexico Department NMED Construction Programs Bureau 2023 Project Priority List Clean Water State Revolving Fund Offer for Loan Funding in the amount of $4,874,556.00 for the Rwwtp Regional Wastewater Treatment Plant Solar Project. Yes, sir, Mr. Boyda.
Chair Crawford, members of the board, I'm Eric Boyda, the Water Resource Director for the Village of Rwwtp. Today in front of you, we've got a recommendation for loan for the solar project at the wastewater treatment plant. And today in our Zoom meeting, we've got Dale Lyons with Sauter Miller and Associates, and we also have some folks from Npd that are available to discuss about the revolving loan fund and answer any questions that you guys will have. But it's my understanding, and Npd, please correct me if I'm wrong, but this action right now is just, are you guys interested in moving forward with this process? It's not an actual contract at this point. It's just, they want to know, are we willing to move forward with this so we can start the paperwork process?
Okay, does anybody have any questions? We've looked at this now for 4 years, 5 years.
10 years,
A long time.
It's been a long time, but yeah, I think you're right, 4 years.
At least, and then we've got it at 0.01% interest.
Mr. Chair, just to refresh my memory, trying to keep up with it, part of this is going on Mr. Williams' property, correct, as they're designing? Is that still in the picture?
Chair Crawford, Mayor Pro Tem Salas, we're looking at all adjoining properties, and so this 4.8 includes potential funding to acquire additional property.
Okay, what
So
additional property are you looking at?
The Allison tracts.
Okay.
That's to the east of the plant. So right now, we don't have this loan amount is for kind of the worst case scenario.
Up to?
I mean, the best case scenario where we can build the large full-size solar array, but we're gonna optimize the solar installation for what property we're able to acquire, and what facilities we can use on the property that we already own.
Okay,
So this amount would build the large solar array on newly acquired property.
okay.
And who can speak to what our payback is on this time period? Expected savings and all that. I know we did the numbers, but this was before we were talking about the loan amount.
Yep. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this is Dale Lyons with Sauter Miller and Associates. And based on the analysis that I did, if the village were to build solar that would offset all their electric usage at each of the 3 meters at the wastewater treatment plant, I projected that the village would be saving about $400,000 a year in electric utility costs.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions or anything else they'd like to add to this?
Yes, and I don't know if Mr. Lyons, you could answer this, or Eric might. What is the lease amount if we're acquiring from these other properties for putting up the solar panels?
Yeah, so we've made some initial inquiries with the 2 adjacent property owners, the Allison property owner and the Williams. And Eric can, flesh out this in a bit more detail, but my understanding is that the Williams property owners are not interested in selling property. They're just interested in a lease, and the lease amount that they were asking was well above what would be normal for a project or for a property that would be developed for an energy system like this.
Do we know what that lease amount, or at least what we're starting with negotiation or anything?
Excuse me, I missed that, sorry.
Do we know what the amount or estimate in the negotiation for that Williams lease?
Well, we know what they proposed, and we also know what's sort of normal in the energy industry.
Okay,
On a per acre basis per year.
right.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
So this system, will it have battery backup, or is this a system with no batteries?
This would, what's being proposed and evaluated is a net metered solar system, or several net metered solar systems, one for each of the 3 electric meters without battery batteries are very expensive, and based on the load profile for the wastewater treatment plant, where the facility essentially has constant load, it doesn't make sense to install batteries. And also the rates that the facility is built under aren't conducive to use of batteries. So they're very expensive, and where they're useful is either to continue to operate a facility in the event that you may lose power from the grid, which a solar system wouldn't help you with anyways, and you would need an ungodly amount of battery power in order to power the facility in the event of a power outage. And the other scenario where it would make sense is if you are trying to offset peak demand, where if, imagine a facility, industrial facility that uses a ton of electricity at a certain time of the day when rates are more expensive, and you can discharge your batteries during that period to reduce your peak demand if you are charged a heavy amount of demand charge. But the load profile at the wastewater treatment plant is more or less constant, and so there's no peak to offset.
I think I was reading in here where there was a problem with some power outages at one time. It was due to a motor or something that was causing it. But I was thinking maybe at least, the control part of it, maybe the computer system could be on backup battery. But I'm actually new here today, filling in for the mayor of Ruidoso Downs. But I just wanted to express that to you guys and see.
Chair Crawford, Mayor Pro Tem Walker. So the treatment plant has backup generators, diesel generators that can run the whole plant for several days at a time. So the issue that I think we're talking about in Isaac's report was when we had the high wind event, there was some fluctuation in the power, and it caused some of the equipment to break, which happens. It just happens when you have that fluctuating power.
Right.
So right now we feel confident with the backup power situation at the plant. It just happened to break those belts for those blower equipment.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so the question before us today is, do we want to cap off many years of looking and otherwise procrastination? But I think that we've got a better product and a better understanding of the process, or do we want to move forward? So I would entertain a motion on item number 5, please.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chairman, move to approve the New Mexico Environmental Department NMED Construction Programs Bureau 2023 Project Priority List Clean Water Safe Revolving Fund Offer for loan funding in the amount of $4,874,556 at a rate defined as 0.01% for the Ruidoso Regional Wastewater Treatment Plant Solar Project.
Second.
Okay, do we have any discussion?
I don't think we'll ever see an interest rate like that again in our
I had to
lifetime.
get out a calculator.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
Roll call, please. Bertha?
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Joey Jarvis,
Aye.
Chair Crawford,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Walker,
Aye.
Counselor Salas.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Have a great day.
Okay, item number 6, discussion and possible action on change order number 2 with Smithco Construction, Inc., requesting an extension of 103 calendar days to October 21st, 2022, and an increased contract cost in the amount of $45,205.77. So, and who do we have here? Please introduce yourself.
Katie Ellison with Mills and Corbin.
I'm Daniel Gonzalez, Mills Corbin, and want to apologize for my voice.
Well, we've heard all of that in the last 2 years, so we don't know if it's normal or not anymore. And our own very own Adam.
It's the new norm.
It's the new norm.
Chair Crawford, members of the board, this is change order number 2 with Smithco for the lift station project. for 103 calendar days and $45,000, $45,205.77. Before we go into this, I think in your packet, there is a couple bid items that Katie had broken out. Going forward with the electrical and the realignment of utilities, there was a budgeted amount, and best case scenario will come out $42,000 ahead. Second was $32,000, and the third option was $26,000 or $22,000. We don't want to touch that until the project's actually complete, depending on what we come up with. So I've asked Katie and Daniel to come up here and actually explain this change over moving forward.
Okay, so this is for getting power to the site. In the original contract documents, it was required for the contractor to coordinate with Pnm to extend three-phase power out to the site. We are in a position right now where Pnm has not given us a clear definition of when they could get three-phase power to the site, and also a probable cost. We have a probable cost from them now of getting three-phase power to the site, which is about $45,000. So in trying to help get power to the site in a more timely fashion, we looked at the option to use the VFDs that are at the drive to do the phase conversion. So we could have single phase going to the site, and the drives would be able to do the conversion for the motors to get the three-phase that we need to operate those pumps. So that's what this change order is. We're trying to transition the responsibility from Pnm to the contractor to allow us to have a defined price and a defined time frame to get the work done. So that's where these calendar days come in, and that's where this cost comes in. So with regards to that, as Ann was talking earlier, is there's allowance amounts in the project right now. One of them is a dedicated Pnm allowance that, again, we still need Pnm to go out there. We still need that allowance to be able to extend power out to the site. So we don't want to touch it and take away from that allowance yet until we know what that definitive amount is, and then can balance this back down. So really this is a change order to get power to the site, and then it would balance back out once we can do the adjustments to the allowance amount, because
From the three-phase to the single-phase?
three-phase to the single phase. Because when you look in the packet, there's actually two portions to this change order. The one that is, there's one for the heat trace enclosure, which is for $2,745. So we took away an enclosure that was going to house the heat trace that's going across the bridge. There's a controller there. We felt that it wasn't a good idea to have that exposed where public could interact with it. We wanted to have that concealed, so that's where the $2,700 comes in. The remaining amount of $42,000 is for the power extension. So right now we're looking at a $42,000 for us to transition that to the contractor, or $45,000 for Pnm to extend three-phase power to the site with an undefined amount of time right now.
So in discussions with P&M in the beginning, they didn't give us any estimated times?
They have not. We deal with several groups when we're working with Pnm, so we have the accounts group and the local group that you guys reach out to when you're looking for a service. And then that has to go to their engineering group. It's got kind of lost in their engineering group, and they can't get any information out of them as we've been requesting. And we have been requesting weekly, bi-weekly updates from Pnm to try to get some updates. And in honesty, we haven't even fully finalized completion dates for even the simple single-phase service to the site. So it's been working with Pnm, but we're still working with them as best we can.
Mr. Mayor, so on these sites where you're gonna go from three-phase to single-phase, three-phase power is normally cheaper, and I understand where you're going with VFDs, because that's a variable frequency drive. They ramp up, ramp down. It's supposed to save energy. So you're gonna bring it in, you're gonna go single-phase, you're gonna go VFD, and it's gonna save energy that way. But on the in the future, are they gonna eventually be three-phase, or are they gonna stay VFD?
Well, this system's designed for VFDs. This particular system's called a Smart Run system, so they operate on VFDs, they have level control, and part of the purpose is energy savings, but also has some other functionality that allows you to clean the wet wells. We are anticipating some pretty low flows through these lift stations, so low flows with fixed beat pumps could lead to settlement on the bottom, right? Because if you're working on a pumping range and you only pump this range and never pump it down, you never get what collects on the bottom. So this system's designed to once a week or once every 2 weeks, let it fill up fully and fully suck it down to help clean it out. So that's the functionality of these. So they were always designed with VFDs, and they were intended to operate in a VFD operation.
So there's also gonna be cost in the future for training, right? Because the VFD system is a little more complicated than a regular three-phase.
Chair Crawford, Pro Tem Walker, we actually have all our other new lift stations are on VFDs, and we do have the trained personnel.
Okay. All right. And I'm asking these questions because today's my first meeting here, so.
Well, but I'm along with you, and I know you understand the electrical, the three-phase, dealing with air conditioning and commercial units and all that kind of stuff. And anytime we get more complicated, once this is done, then we got air conditioners around here right now with damper control systems and stuff like that basically are worthless, that we over-engineered, and I'd like to keep it as simple as possible. I like the idea of the three-phase, but if we can't get anything from Pnm, and I don't even know how we're gonna get to the 108 days, is it 103 days, if we're not even sure about when they're gonna get a single phase, right? Because we don't have that guaranteed. So I just see another meeting coming up, or another change order coming up.
Mr. Mayor, would it help to have Zach talk to Pnm?
Well, I think that, and we've reached out to Graham and all them, and what are they just telling us, that they're so covered up they can't get the equipment?
Chair Crawford, before the fire, that was the whole thing is, they're getting to it, they had it scheduled, and then the fire came, and then it's even hard to get a hold of it.
Well, yeah, and I know they've had their hands full.
And I hate bringing that back up, because, everything, it's because of this, because that, but that's what.
And we're talking about right there at the entrance to Upper Canyon on the circle. That's not the property we're talking about?
No, this is for Sleepy Hollow.
That's the property I'm talking about, isn't it? Stinson property?
No.
They're adjacent to each other. They're on like the other side of the river from each other.
This
So
is
the crow flies, you can walk there.
Right
real quick,
across the
otherwise you
street.
have to go around.
So right now, they're being powered, they're not being used. We're still using the old line.
Yes, sir.
So at this, Mr. Crawford, Mr. Mayor, if I may say, so will there also be phase protection involved in this? I know VFD systems, they are highly susceptible to, burnouts and stuff like that from power outages, and so will there be also phase protection in there?
There is surge protective devices in this, yes.
Mr. Chair. Also, have they guaranteed you that they can provide the adequate power to you at that location? We have some wells that, with engineering and the pumps and whatnot, they had to meet 9% variance across the legs. P&M couldn't provide it to us. So all the new stuff we had put in didn't have a warranty because they couldn't provide the power.
Every conversation we had to date, yes, they can. Yes, they can. These are pretty small loads at this particular lift station. They're 3 horsepower pumps. So we're talking pretty small loads. P&M felt comfortable with powering these.
And they were in favor of this option as well, just because they can't guarantee the crew that we're talking to.
Three-phase?
Yeah, the one that are probably pretty sick of seeing my name show up on their phone. They were in favor of this just because they were like, yes, we can have a better deadline with this, and we can provide this portion a lot easier of what you need. So that position.
Yes, sir, Jerry?
Yes, Mayor, members of the board, Jerry Paz with Moles and Corbin. Also, from what we've experienced, it's a lot of places. I mean, Daniel has said that there's some transformers that are like 2 years out. There's just all kinds of issues in El Paso with El Paso Electric. We had a water tank with a simple level control and some very simple SCADA work. That stuff is, they say it's a year out, extend that a mile. So it's just, there's just some things going on in this country that just are taking forever, and it's not isolated to Rio, so unfortunately.
That's the new normal. We don't know where all the workers went. We don't know where all the stuff went. I just know it isn't here.
No.
Well, so it looks like this is our best option. Okay, do we have anything else to add, Joey?
No, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Harry, you don't have anything to question?
No, sir.
Do you have any other questions, Raffle?
No.
Okay, then I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve change order number 2 with Smithco Construction, Inc., requesting an extension of 103 calendar days to October 21, 2022, and an increased contract cost in the amount of $45,205.77.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Chair Crawford?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Walker?
Aye.
Joey Jarvis?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Item number 7, discussion and possible action on award of IFB number 2022-003B, a rebid for hazard mitigation and stabilization for sewer lines Phase 3 of the sanitary sewer system repair rehabilitation project to AUI Inc. for the base bid in the amount of $14,126,788.44, including applicable GRT, and that'd be local GRT. With the option of constructing additive alternatives 1 and 2 in additional funding becomes if additional funding becomes available during the contract period. And so Karen.
Chairman Crawford, members of the board, we bring before you this procurement, and I would like to start off by kind of going through the village's procurement process for those of you that are new to the board, so we know. The village advertised in 7 newspapers to try to obtain as much competition as possible. We also drew down from the Small Business Association website to get applicable or contractors from that, as this is a federally funded project and it is a requirement to do so. We held a mandatory pre-bid conference, which also included site visits to all of the sites that were originally in this procurement. We had 4 contractors that attended that mandatory pre-bid conference, which were AUI Inc., Smithco Construction Incorporated, WCA Construction LLC, and Granite Construction Incorporated. So with that, we had a lot of questions. So the village, we recommended having a second mandatory pre-bid conference, just so that the contractors felt more at ease and could air out their questions. We wanted to make sure that they understood the design. If they had any questions about the specs, that we would address them. We just wanted them to feel comfortable in submitting their bids. With that, we received 2 bids, one from AUI and one from Smithco Construction. And with that, I would like to turn it over to Steve, so Steve could go through the process of what we had to do, because those 2 bids obviously came in way above our available funding, which is of course FEMA funding.
And by way over, what do you mean by way over?
Not close.
Yeah, like 44 million?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm Steve Morrow with Moles & Corbin, and I led the design on this project. We finalized our estimate in November. We used current bid pricing in November and added various factors to that, we thought, we had greatly inflated the prices. We went to bid in December. We got our bids in March, and our engineer's estimate was about 22 million. The bids came in at 38 and 44, so about double. At that point, the village and Moles and Corbin worked together to refine the scope of the project so that it fell within the available funding. Simultaneously, the village had been working with NRCS. NRCS is the agency that built all those stuccoed walls down the river, and the village was able to get NRCS to agree to stabilize the river where those NRCS walls had been constructed in the 2008 flood. So it just so happened that quite a few of those locations that NRCS agreed to pay for and construct these stabilization structures were in the same locations where we were building structures to protect the sewer line. So we removed all the locations where those NRCS river stabilization structures were being constructed. We removed those from the scope. So we were able to reduce the scope that way. Also, the village, currently Eric is working with Riverbend Engineering to build some other river stabilization structures. And some of those coincide with where we had structures in the hazard mitigation project. So we decided to remove those. We ended up with 7 structures that we felt were very high priority structures. These are all structures that are designed in locations where we believe the sewer line is very vulnerable. In the 2008 flood, the sewer line was torn apart in many locations and raw sewage was discharged into the river. So it's our intent to come up with a package that includes these NRCS structures, these Riverbend engineering structures, and this hazard mitigation project that we're discussing now. Altogether, those 3 projects we feel will provide significant protection to the sewer line in the event of a flood. So what we did was we presented a new scope of work to the 2 bidders, which were Smithco and AUI, and we asked them to submit revised bids based on this reduced scope of work. So the reduced scope of work included 9 structures and 2 alternatives that, should funding be available, the village wants to construct those 2. So that's a total of 9 structures. So the original bid was in mid-March. 2 months later, we got this new bid back. Their prices were about 50% higher than they had been just 2 months before. But the bids from Smithco, let's see. So AUI's new bid was 21 million for these 9 structures, 13 million for the 7 in the base bid, and Smithco's bid was 16 million for the total bid, 12 million for the base bid. Now, this was a qualification-based bid, a 2-step bid, where the village opened qualification packages where the contractors, explained why they were best qualified for the project. And the village scored those packages. And so price was only, 56%?
Yes, 56 possible.
Of the possible points. And so, once we put that all together, let's see, I have some other here. There it is. Okay. So once we put that all together, Smithco ended up scoring 86 points, and AUI scored 93 points. So it was pretty close. Even though Smithco had the lower price, AUI had a higher score on the qualifications package. So AUI came out with the most points, 93, to Smithco's 86 points. So the village now would like to recommend, and Moles and Corbin has recommended to the village, that they select AUI to construct the 7 structures in the base bid and the additional 2 structures if funding becomes available.
And Jerry, Molson Corbin, we would also like to state that the contract documents, through consultation with your legal counsel, FEMA, and all the agencies, allowed the village to then, I guess, pre-qualify the two bidders that took a shot at it the first time to be selected to take a shot at it the second time, and not open it up, because that was a 3 or 4 month process, and the second process, because they had bid it once, was a much abbreviated time. And so that was through consultation with your council. And the amount that's in the docket, of 14 million, that includes the tax, as the mayor had said. That's the way you prepare it. So 13 million that Steve referenced is exclusive of tax.
And if we can go back to some of the NRCS stuff on the funding, Mr. Boyd, would you clarify that so that I know that we have a match on that and that's individualized?
So just to clarify a little bit more on the selection criteria that we did for eliminating some of the sites.
Start with how many sites were there? Because we're talking about 7.
There were 37. Right?
There were 37, okay.
So, you know, with the first bid coming up so much higher than what we ever thought it was going to be, we had to make difficult decisions. So, you know, we were trying to balance the worst sites that we know we needed something there right away with other opportunities. So with the NRCS presented us an opportunity to potentially eliminate some of those sites. So we haven't executed a contract with the NRCS yet, but I did get word that we have the funding in the state, and so I've been working to get the paperwork filled in. So there should be a contract coming, and we should be developing those projects here this late summer. So we feel comfortable with those. Some of the other sites, we felt that they were good opportunities for other funding sources. So, for instance, there was 3 projects that were kind of around Two Rivers Park, and we had already gotten funding from Npds for the river stewardship project, and so we just shifted around some of our fish habitat structures, and we're going to provide some degree of mitigation with these fish habitat structures. So, you know, that's why those 3 structures were eliminated in that reach, or 2 additional structures eliminated in that reach. So, you know, we don't have the mitigation components resolved for all of the crossings. It's just we had to make that difficult decision that there's other good opportunities for us to implement hazard mitigation in those sites that had to be cut. So what is it, Steve, like 20 some that we still need to address in some fashion.
And just for not just Mayor Pro Tem Walker's edification, but ours too, because this is droned on for 14 years. And the way we ended up, we were the first recipients of the Sandy Recovery Act, where we were given the estimated funds up front. And how much was that, Karen?
Well, the total amount of the funding was right at 36 million.
And out of that 36 million, on advice from FEMA, he's kind of like the guy, you don't talk about him anymore. Brian Williams was with FEMA. We went through the process and we picked out H2M Hill, was it? CH2M Hill, I can't even remember. And so we went through and then we found out that engineering was being scrapped because they were going to move it out of the river, the sewer. And then it came back and says, you can't move it, you have to do it where it's at. Through a rebid process, we've got Molson Corbin, we went through, and we were given one lump sum. In the meantime, the reason that it was done back then was because we'd seen several communities that FEMA had broke. You know, they got started, they couldn't cash flow the projects, and so they ended up dying on the vine. So at the time, we felt like we could get it done, but boy, were we wrong. That's where Army Corps and any 3 other letter agency that the government has threw up roadblock, and so here we are. So now the prices have gone absolutely through the roof. We've got limited amount of resources. So the question is, if we choose these 7, Are they still gonna let us close this PW out?
So, Chairman
The
Crawford,
work order,
Chairman Crawford, I think, the way the village is approaching this is, we are working on a letter to inform the agency of what the village is moving forward with, and that is choosing this to, complete our contractual obligations through the grant, and that is addressing all the repair work that was put upon us to do. So with that, we are gonna let them know that this is how we're gonna approach this. We're gonna fulfill our obligations and move forward and let them know that this would, fulfill that and close out the project worksheet 155, which is the sewer line project. And then if they were needing any more, then we were gonna, or requesting or gonna ask any more of us, we would ask that cap be
the
lit.
ceiling cap can be lit, because right now we're capped. We're not getting any more money. So if they don't accept this, then we're asking for a request that they raise the cap to include the other 35 million or 30 million or whatever to get it fixed.
Yes, sir. Because as Chairman Crawford was stating, in the beginning, when we took this or signed the grant agreement, we weren't aware of the obligations of the easements for, say, the property acquisitions. You know, we have to follow this 49 CFR, and none of that was discussed up front, and other things which included in brand new environmental
And the
assessment.
reviews and all the stuff that
Yes,
we've
sir.
had to do, initially, we weren't supposed to do. So in our opinion, they're in breach of the plan and the program that we signed on for anyway.
Right, because we were supposed to be able to be issued these funds and get the job, and get the work done. But instead, we've had to go through all the approval processes.
Hoop.
Which wasn't spelled out in this grant. So that's the approach the village is gonna take, is just to let them know that if the JUB decides today to make this award, we will be letting them know that we are completing once the construction is completed, we will have fulfilled that
So
grant.
the verbiage, I think, would be with this, that if we elect to approve this, it would be in concert with the FEMA people agreeing to the 7 or the whatever as closing out the PW 155.
Subject to, yes.
Subject to, yes, that's the words I'm looking for.
Chair Crawford, if I may. Did you guys talk about the location with the sewer repair?
Not yet.
Yeah, so the part of the selection criteria, there is one of the hazard mitigation sites that was doing the repair to the sewer line. And so even though that location might have not come to the top for the hazard mitigation component, we kept in that sewer line repair. So with that location being completed, we'll have repaired the physical sewer line in its entirety. And that's what the basis of the grant is. So it was to complete the sewer line and then do additional hazard mitigation so that we don't break it in the future.
Mr. Mayor, so these contractors that did these bids, are they from New Mexico?
Yes, as Karen indicated, we advertise in 5 states. We felt like this was a big project. We could get a large contractor and get more competitive bids. So we advertised in 5 states. We got the 2 locals. So the good news is both of them are locals. The one who's being recommended, AUI, is out of Albuquerque. We've had a good track record with them. So it's always good to shop local. We felt like this big project was big enough to get a ravine restoration company that was familiar with working in the river. We thought this was big enough to attract that. But Steve called him up and said, why didn't you bid our project? Granite Construction, they came out for the pre-bid out of Arizona, and we've worked with them before in the past. They just said, when we're slow, we look outside our region. When we're busy, we stay home, and we don't have to pay lodging and all this other stuff. So just the bidding environment, we weren't able to attract some of the other contractors that have this kind of experience. So,
But we did get experts that their main deal is slip lining and pipe bursting that came through. I mean, that's their forte. So we were able to acquire
SAK was at it.
people that were very qualified. And SAK has done a great job. And, our issues are not with that. Our issues have been What do you mean we need another survey? You know, what do you mean you don't want to do that way because there's a change in administration at FEMA or whoever? So that's been a lot of it, and then the unbelievable pricing.
Well, and as you said, Mayor, the unbelievable pricing comes from pretty much people don't have help anymore. So these companies, I know by experience, but they just throw out a bid there and say, oh, well, if I get it, it's gonna be great because I'm just gonna throw this outrageous bid. And if I get it, then it's just gonna be icing on the cake. You know, they don't really want the job because they don't have the people, they don't have the time, but they just throw it out there and boom, they get it. You know, it's like, well, now they got a big piece of cake, you know? I know that it kills everybody. It's hard. But I mean, I wish it wasn't that way, but the way, like you said, the way the world's going right now, that's what happens, and we all pay for it. And then we're all gonna pay for it in our taxes, so.
And there's, I mean, we could have a conversation on construction pricing, but there's a lot of, fuel, you know, this project's 18 months, what's fuel gonna be like in a year from now? And a contractor's having to write down a number. So they're asking and they're getting numbers and they're putting that in their price because they don't know what else to do. So that's part of it. Little stuff that you wouldn't really think about, like legalizing marijuana. You know, hey, weed is legal in New Mexico, isn't that great?
And then your insurance.
But this is a federal project. Marijuana still is a felony, federal felony. These employees have to be drug tested. These contractors are saying, well, we're getting great workers, but then they can't pass a drug test. And so those guys, they can't hire them. And so we got the small labor pool, but because of the federal restrictions, it further shortens that labor pool. And you wouldn't really think about that, but those are things that these contractors are having to face in their bidding. And so.
Well, and I've done work on the base where you have to have your employees have to be able to pass a background check. And, you know, that's really hard when almost everybody's had a felon or whatever. You can't find workers that don't have a felon hardly, you know. So, I mean, it's real hard to get on a base even. But,
What kind of guys you hanging out with?
in the HVAC system, you get all kinds of critters.
Well, it's not like the accounting business, though.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's the price and then the material shortages. I mean, when we initially looked at this, we're thinking, okay, we're gonna source local rock, local quarries. But now the fuel to extract that rock and to bring that rock in, that just doubled in price. And so it just in the last 6 months, what's it gonna be in the next 8 months? So they're, you know, the contractors, I don't know how to say this correctly, but you're thinking that they're dancing for joy with these prices.
They're not.
They're almost suicidal because they don't know if they put in a good number that's gonna cover them to get to the end of the job.
Right.
Well, and some of them have up to, you know, we just looked at one that diesel, once it gets over $6 and something, then we're going back to the table. So.
The DOT has that escalation clause in their contract. And if it rises more than 10%, the contractor automatically gets additional money.
Yep. And so then it comes to the bottom line people, the taxpayer, the village that has to come up with the money. So speaking of that, we have that money set aside. All that 14 million?
With there's 14 million available once the state has contributed
They're 5%? I mean, they're,
no, the money that they owe the village.
yeah, it's like 5 million. 3 million. 3 million. I know we got part of it. So 3 million.
So that will also be included in the letter when we send that to them, that will be.
And we've talked to the governor's people and they've assured us and that if it's not now, it'll be in the next legislative session. Is that right, Manager Dodge? As we've been talking to Diego and all those girls.
That's correct. I just want to point out a couple of things and, we've taken the position and it's actually worked in our favor a couple of times with our discussions with Homeland Security and FEMA. I think more with Homeland Security from my perspective is, during this whole process, they've looked at different things where they've asked for concurrence and want to get concurrence. And we've gone back and said, no, we have a contract between Homeland Security, FEMA, and, our local organization here, and we're gonna follow our contract. If you wanna change the contract, then let's go back to the table and negotiate it and look at the cap and reevaluate that. Before, I think we're just taking their lead and doing what they told us, and a lot of times it was outside the scope of their agreement. So when it comes to this decision, we're completing the rehabilitation of the infrastructure. The hazard mitigation is in addition to that, but I firmly believe that with this contract, we're fulfilling our contractual obligations to Homeland Security and to FEMA.
And to the village of Ruidoso, the people and
Yes.
the sewer line and all that,
Yes,
it is fixed.
But we do have a contractual obligation with those two entities. So in addition to that, it's very specific, the terms and conditions of that. And now that we've been following that and holding their feet to the fire, I think we've been able to move forward. The other part of that is the state has a contractual obligation to us that they still need to fulfill. And that's the additional $3 million that needs to come in for the match. So our recommendation is we move forward and then we hold them to their contractual obligations. And, that's the way to do business to get this moving forward. Now, when we start to look at our permit for the Army Corps, now we have permit obligations that we need to fulfill, but we got time to work on that. And once we can move forward with this project, get FEMA out of the way, fulfill our contract with FEMA and with Homeland Security, then that opens up other opportunities. And if NRCS doesn't fund the projects, then we could go after some of the state watershed dollars or other dollars. Right now, we're limited to go after state funds because we're in a contract with FEMA and you can't match federal funds against federal funds.
Right.
So once we close this out, get them out of the way, then that opens up other funding opportunities to either bring in infrastructure dollars or other federal funds to the table. So.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Is there any other questions for the manager? Anybody else have any other comments or questions?
Chairman Crawford, the only thing I wanted to add to that is that if you have any questions about there's a committee evaluation report attached to this. And that kind of lays out the process that we use. So if you have any questions, just let us know. And we can...
Chairman Crawford and board members, and when we talked about it, and Karen, we're talking about concurrence. I don't think it really concurrence. I think we're informing our contractor, our grantor and grantee and subgrantee that we have filled with this bid that we have fulfilled our obligations and proceeding to move towards closeout. Now, I don't think we need to be asking them for permission or concurrence. We need to be letting them know that we've fulfilled our terms and conditions of the agreement.
Right, I agree.
That's good. Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the award of IFB number 2022-003B rebid, hazard mitigation and stabilization for sewer line phase 3 of the sanitary sewer system repair and rehabilitation project to AUI Inc. for the base bid in the amount of $14,126,788.44, including applicable GRT, with the option of construction additive alternates 1 and 2 if additional funding becomes available during the contract period.
Second.
Any other discussion?
Just one comment, Mayor, that I remember way at the very beginning with that CH2M Hill and stuff and the battering back and forth with staff and administration of, there was just a strong push to move the sewer line out of the river, which FEMA said from the beginning that all you had to really do while they would just replace what was damaged, and the provisions given there was that just comply with putting sewer line in the river, which I think it was 3 feet deep below the water level, and concrete is what I remember. Back then, they never produced the letter that FEMA and the Corps of Engineer required us to do that. So that put us back 10 years in trying to get this project moving to where we're at now. I just had to get that out because a lot of people forget about the history of it, and I still get the question, you're still working on that project? And that's the explanation I have to give. So, and we waste a lot of taxpayer money on that beginning of this project. So, but I thank the staff, I thank City of Ruidoso Downs for being understandable, and the engineering firm that we have now to keep moving forward. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Counselor Solis?
Aye.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Chair Crawford?
Aye.
Joey Jarvis?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Walker?
Aye.
All right, thank you. And then it's all with what was the term that you used, Jerry? Subject to. That's good. Okay, Mr. Isaac, you're up, my friend. Monthly report on regional wastewater treatment plant.
Chair Crawford, members of the board, so this is my monthly report on how the plant ran in April. And we had relatively low flows, that's why we were able to do our filter cleans during that month. We averaged about 1.3. We're still running really well. We're removing 99 plus of everything that's coming into the facility. We did collect a few fog samples. The end of the Mountain Gauze was 31.7, Palmer Loop was 35, and we did do a cord fog this time, and we do it by taking a sample from our metering station, which is behind Big O Tires, and we do one at our inflow, and we did notice that there was a little bit of a rise. Normally you guys are in the negatives, but this time we did get a positive 24.7. And my speculation is that it could be because of the track starting to operate and people coming in and starting to possibly dump grease down the drain themselves, or no telling, but I think that's probably what it was. But other than that, everything's been going good. Any questions on the facility right now?
No? Anyone?
No?
Yes, sir?
I just have one question, Isaac. So when you start getting higher readings like that, do you guys go and start checking possibly a new restaurant that's opening or whatever that possibly might be dumping grease down the drains?
Yes, we do. Yes, we are. And actually, yesterday and today, we have one of my workers out checking restaurants right now.
Because I know there's several that have opened down that road, down Sutter. So I just didn't know if sometimes you get new managers, new owners, and they don't teach their people to get rid of the grease the proper way.
No, and he's doing really good. He's heading everybody.
Yeah, we have started a fats, oil, and grease gentleman that goes around from the businesses and checks their logs to see if they're getting it picked up. And I know with the shortage with Rwwtp Septic, Cannon, a lot of their stuff burned up, that it was gonna have to go with WX, and so I guess that's going okay. I haven't heard, that we went to one. Basically, there's two people I understand that can still pick it up. So we have someone that's going to these and monitoring them, and then checking for their receipts.
Yes, sir.
And that is happening?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I believe we have it on our checklist when they register for their business license as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I know that when
I know we discussed that.
Yeah, when you get inspected, they have to have their grease trap inspected and all that before they're issued a permit to operate.
Right.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So, the Palmer Loop thing, it's back up. And up and down. I know it's not like it was a year ago this time.
No. So that tells me there maybe, I mean, but it just, like you say, it just goes up and down.
So what was done, I understand that they were putting in some more grease traps up there by the, was it Palmer Loop or was it
It
at
was at the end.
at the Apache T?
Yes, sir, and I'm not sure about the status on that though.
Okay, and did we reach out, I know Adam's out there, he's the guy that should be in here. That we reached out to his counterpart there and that we were having discussions on those things?
Yes, and I think my guy went and did observe when they got their grease trap, pumped.
Okay,
So
they were doing that. Adam, so can you update us on your contact with the folks up in the Mountain Gods, the tribe on, I know he said that we did have a guy that watched them pump that up at Apache T. Now, were they putting in new grease traps at Apache T?
They are supposed to actually put in new grease traps at Apache T and the little concession stand they had there at the lake. There was not a grease trap on that line.
Okay.
And then they're supposed to put like a so-called scalping plant below the dam to actually help out with the grease.
Okay.
But that nothing has been done. We have we actually went out and helped them last month, I believe, and actually helped them rod their lines and do some cammering, just as
Courtesy just to,
courtesy,
okay, good.
to get this started. But that's kind of where it fell.
Okay, who are you dealing with over there? Who you with?
We're dealing with
Jackie Blaylaw.
Yes, and then MP Chavez is actually the contractor they hired to do some of the work over there.
Okay.
And he's kept us kind of in the loop, and we've helped them out. Just
Okay.
because-
Just for verification, we've always had an issue up there, and we've talked, and then we found out at one point that they hadn't pumped in years the Apache T, and so it was just flowing over. So we got that done, and so we're working in concert with them, and if they come and put these grease traps in, and then a scalping station, hopefully you think there's enough other waters and stuff coming through there, that scalping station won't have the same effect that we had the study done on ours, and they said that we would have clogging problems.
Chair Carver, yeah, I think, there's, especially coming from like Palmer Loop, up that way, and was it the Hunt Lodge up
Yeah.
there? The Hunt Lodge was another thing, is they have an actual lift station. And somehow I caught that because I think that lift stations actually bypassed their
Grease trap?
Is that when we did samples that day, Isaac and I took samples, that was one of the big numbers we got, is right outside that.
And so what was done about that?
They said that they went in and I guess did some plumbing or something in there, but I never saw anything they did, and then their numbers did go down the next month that we tested.
Okay, good. All right, good. I'm glad looks like we're making progress. Just keep us updated on, when and if they get that done.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Okay, you want to move on to your quarterly?
Okay, so, on our NPDES, permit compliance, we didn't have any excursions on our total nitrogen or total phosphorus or any other TMDLs at the facility. The next one is our NPDES permit renewal. As you know, it does expire this year, and we did work closely with Molson and Corbin, with Clayton and on the whole team to get our application for the NPDES permit, and we did get it sent in. They did find some, they had some questions on a few things, but Clayton and the team from Molson and Corbin is working on it to get those few questions answered, and all we gotta do now is cross our fingers and hope that we get a new, good permit in that we can achieve and be comfortable with. So that should be coming in within the next few months.
Okay.
And we'll know all about that. The next thing is our filter cleans. We were able to do 2 basins worth of filters in the month of April, and that went smooth, and everything looked pretty good. So we should be good until fall. we're ready for the summer and all the people that are gonna be coming in.
Good job.
So, that's the whole reason why we do these cleans, just to get ready and make sure the plant is running, so we stay in compliance, because we do have to stay in compliance 365 days a year, so, that's the reason why we do this. On our new hires, we did get a new gentleman in, Daniel Salazar. He's our new water resource maintenance tech. He's supposed to train with us and also train with Randy Kane in order to be dual certified. And we just got him in, so we're gonna train him first at the facility. And when we get comfortable, we'll send him off with Randy to get trained over there. Any questions on anything?
Are you seeing with the tightening of the sewer line, the repairs, are you, with less influence into the water line, are you seeing any of your skewed numbers on your testing?
Not skewed numbers, but we are noticing that we are having to waste more. Our solids are staying high in the facility, so therefore we have to remove them out into our digester and into our solids handling area. So I am noticing that our solids are staying higher all the time, as where before we were able to drop them down fairly easy. Now we're having to waste more days a week in order to keep that number where we run optimally in the facility. But we didn't have any excursions on nitrogen or phosphorus, so we're still doing good.
Okay. And on your materials, your treatment, your chemicals and things like that, you're not having trouble getting any of those? I know you purchased quite a bit at one time. You still
Yes,
have
and
that?
we're just trying to stay ahead of the game, so now we order a few months ahead of time,
Okay.
just in case there's any kind of delays.
Is there any word out there that there may be a shortage or cutback?
Hopefully not.
That's what I'm hoping, but I
Yeah.
mean, that's good thinking, Isaac.
Yeah, and that's why we try to stay on top of it. Yes, sir.
On that note, Mr. Chair, I was just thinking, and it's not really Isaac's responsibility, but we added all that sewer line up at Town and Country. It'd sure be nice if, with the permitting or P&Z, that we kind of keep track how many new sewer lines we're starting to get connected to the system. Just to give us reference of going back to flows and doing on that part. So I don't know if we do that already, Adam, or?
Adam's got a number.
Chair Crawford, Board Member Salas, we actually do keep track. Ashley Carbajal is actually tracking our sewer connections as we go.
Okay.
Do you have any idea what that number is?
Yeah, with the downs, I believe it was 270 the last time we checked. Since
In the last month?
No, since the last time our permit renewed.
Well, he was asking about just with the Town and Country coming online. Do you know how many new sewer connections we've made?
As of right now, we've only made 3 because we're just now starting to let them connect because we're accepting the project.
Right.
But there will be, I believe, 30 connections.
30 total?
Yes.
Okay.
What about Paradise Canyon? How many of those are new?
Paradise, there's nothing.
None new?
It was all water.
Okay.
And pretty much everybody on Paradise is already hooked up.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I don't.
Nope. Okay.
Thank you very much,
All right.
gentlemen.
Thank you, Isaac, for doing a good job.
Thank
It's always nice when we don't hear any issues out of the,
you.
he's number 1 in the number 2 business right there. It's an old joke, but it never gets old. All right. We have any reports from board members? Would you like to add anything, Joey?
No, sir, nothing right now.
None?
I
Mayor Pro Tem?
don't have anything other than I'm glad to be back on this board.
Okay, glad to have you.
None for me.
None from you? Mayor Pro Tem Walker?
Nope.
Okay. All right, that concludes the business today for the wastewater treatment plant. This meeting is adjourned.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Karen, can you hang on a minute?
We'll tell the mayor we're thinking of him.
Yeah, definitely.
He's going through that.
See you, man.
Hi, buddy. You good?
Take care, Shane.
Yep. Appreciate it. Did you spend the night or did you go home? I went back, and then came back.
Wow.